thanks be to God, I walked away with a contract that day.
Wow.
We had John Leguizamo, Rosie Perez,
Big
we had
Diesel, I remember
Kerry Washington. We had so many people come through and so many talent.
Once you were able to execute upon that, then you created something undeniable that then HBO would see that and say, okay, yeah, we want to be a part of this.
Those people that we bring in interpret the festival from a different lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been doing it for 23 years, but those people are seeing the brand and the audience and the creative, and they're like, no, I see it this way.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to the Rodriguez Project here at Mastermynd Media. We got Jai behind the scenes.
Yo.
Hey.
And a friend of mine across the table, man, he does so many different things. It's been a pleasure to watch everything that you're doing. Calixto Chinchilla, everybody, the founder. Would you say the founder of New York Latino Film Festival?
I heard, yeah. So I heard.
Yeah. And I mean, when you tell people, like, what are 3 words that describe like who you are as a professional and as your personal side?
Oh my God, I've never been asked that question. And it's crazy. Before I even begin this, like, we do know each other, but we've never had the Barbara Walters moment. And this is like, so I don't know what questions you're asking me. This is like,
yeah, this was like, hey, I'm coming through town. And then I was like, hey, by the way, while you're here, do you have like a small window? And we got a 45-minute window. Perfect timing.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I never really care for the word founder. I really don't use it often.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think when I first started, my title, and I had to have a title, was executive director. And for me, I stuck with that.
Yeah.
I thought everybody was a founder. And I was like, no, I'm the executive director of this company. Even before we formed, I'm like, I felt like I had to own the title.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because that definitely might hold more weight. Because it's like, yeah, being the founder of something is one thing, but like making it happen and continuously
I felt like it held more weight. And I also didn't like the word entrepreneur, because I always felt like that equated to being broke.
Interesting. Well, that's because that's what it meant before. Then once the internet really took off, then it was like, oh, entrepreneur, like it became super sexy and like, oh, be your own boss. And you're like, if you can avoid it and you don't have to be an entrepreneur, don't, because it sucks. And it's also the best thing at the same time. Would you agree?
Yeah. But also that. And once I was in Entrepreneur Magazine, then I was like, okay, then this is what it is.
That makes sense. So you would say, so give me 3 words.
3 words that describe me in business and in life.
Yeah.
In business, honest, dedicated and driven and inspired. Like, people inspire me. I work in, I guess, in the inspiration business or the storytelling business that's inspiring. So being with people or filmmakers or seeing the culture move, even other people that I don't know that work in culture spaces, inspire me and inspire my work. So I would say all those things. Yeah. In life, it's kind of the same. I don't think you could separate them. I think integrity means everything to me. Humility, and lead with care for others. And wanting to create impact for culture and community, that means everything to me. So I think I lead in that, in life and in business. Yeah. And it keeps you honest, you know, because we work in a business full of BS. That's riddled in BS, entertainment. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter. It's not necessarily just film, just talking about music, film, all of it. And that staying grounded means everything to me.
Sure. Yeah. And you can see, and like, for you, I can't imagine, and you do a lot of different things, but I can't imagine you ever doing anything else. It's like you bleed all of those things, like everything you do, and inspiring other filmmakers to do what they're doing, and people to start different things. Because now you started the New York Latino Film Festival in the year 2000. You said like 98, you started maybe coming up with the concept or had some other conversations. So,
I've always been of this, you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. Mm-hmm. And so in 98, me and a mutual friend of ours, Paris Jones, we had this short film that we were working on.
What was it called?
Latin lingo. It was a day in the life of this kid who was a papi chulo, and he's a womanizer until he learns his lesson, kind of a thing. And we did some hood stuff. We were raising money with we were selling candy on the trains in New York. Wow. We were doing shows to raise money for it. We did everything to try to. There was no crowd, funding, any of that. We did street funding.
Wow.
And so we were on the trains and trying to sell this candy, M&Ms and stuff.
Whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes. I mean, we did shows and people paid to see our shows and we raised the money. But along the way, when I was in post-production, those are the things that I learned. Like I had issues in my sound, and even though we had quality people work around us, there were some issues. And then really where it hit the fan is in post-production. I kind of got screwed up along the way. You sign an agreement. Oh, I'm going to help you cut this film, whatever. Said company goes bankrupt, and then your film gets lost. Damn. But along the way, I was really fortunate because we got a lot of heat. We got a lot of attention to how we were doing things and just that go-getter young people doing things. So we were getting a lot of notoriety. But also at the same time, I was working with a Black and Latino crew. And we were like, okay, well, what happens to this film afterwards? Where we're going to play? And there wasn't a Tribeca. There wasn't anything that really, right, there really wasn't anything that existed in New York City, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And so you had that going on. You had my lived experience going on. And then on top of that, if you can round circles around it, then you had a larger issue of diversity and inclusion. That conversation was beginning to percolate. But even more so, you had Ricky Martin and this Latin explosion and everyone, the general market, finally piquing an interest into us and saying, you know what, Latinos are going to be the dominant, majority. They're not going to minority, but they're going to be the majority.
Isn't the majority of moviegoers?
Everything. Like we were going to be like, people were predicting this back when Ricky Martin did, La Vida Loca, which is when we started to come out. And it was like, you got to look at them. So there was that sphere. And then you had the studios that were interested in like, okay, well, how do we target this community? And so with that, I was like, well, what if we created a space where we not only build audiences for the work, but we educated filmmakers on how this business goes. And then we educate the industry on what the culture's putting out, what the culture's, producing, and create this forum where we were getting to really know and learn about the business and learn about each other and build audiences for the work. And it was really important for us, particularly as a Latino film festival that really didn't quite exist in this level anymore at all at that point. I'm sorry, to really teach the audiences like the importance of their role. Like everything that we do as creatives is for, our gente, for the audiences. And we need their support, whether it's buying a ticket, coming through, but particularly buying a ticket. We need you to support the content that we're creating for you. And it was, for us, it was always about putting audiences first and then educating the filmmakers and the industry on what the culture was doing.
Wow. Yeah, it's like identifying a problem based on something that a film that you started and then saw where you needed to improve based on being a filmmaker and learning that kind of thing. But like, as I'm learning, there's this whole
ecosystem.
Yeah. And then now, wow, that's brilliant. And so then it eventually launched. First year was 2000.
Yeah.
Wow, that's easy for numbers to be able to always know what year you're on.
But it's crazy. You look back and it's like, we really had to teach an audience. We had to build an audience from scratch with no social media, with none of that. It was like door to door, doing mails and, e-blast. But it was like, it's a 2000s. So it's a different time.
Because that's the thing too. And now that you've had hundreds of thousands of attendees at your events over the years, and but to have that idea and that dream to build something, when did it click? Where was it that first year where you put it on and it was like, oh wait, I think we got something here. This is like people, like, you knew it was necessary, but the execution is always like,
no, it was crazy. It was a crazy idea.
Yeah,
and
of course.
And just to give people real deeper context, I was like I think like 22, I was living in my mother's house. I was working 2 jobs. I was going to school.
Yeah.
And my mother didn't know. So I kept it secret from everyone, including Paris,
Why?
our friend.
Because you're afraid to
You
fail?
just don't want
or
to hear,
like,
you just don't want to hear negative voices.
Yeah.
It's a crazy ass idea.
Head
I
down,
think I'm
blinders,
crazy
yeah.
as it is. So I'm like, I don't need anyone else, just distracting me.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I looked at different organizations that had done this in the past, that attempted to do a film festival, whether it's not even just Latino, like festivals of color. Like I was like, let me just, you don't know where you're going to, you know where you've been, that kind of approach. Let me just do my research. And I was fortunate. I went to a Museo de Barrio. They had done something, in the past. And I was like, okay, I just looked that up and I started calling people and just trying to get their context because, there've been film movements, you know what I mean? Both Black and Latino, and you kind of want to just know that before you just jump in and say, I'm going to do a festival.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do we, hold on to that legacy, because those issues of D&I, diversity, inclusion still exist. But now this is a new generation that has to deal with it in a different way. And now even more so in the era of social media, it's 2.0, right? And so it was learning that, and then, again, just coming up with the concept of what the festival was. And I was really fortunate that, HBO had believed in it.
When did they come on?
The first year.
Wow. So, for you, I love that, it took what it took to actually make it happen. But then once you were able to execute upon that, then you created something undeniable that then HBO would see that and say, okay, yeah, we want to be a part of this.
Yeah. There wasn't even an HBO Latino that existed at the time.
Wow.
So they looked at us like, what are you guys are doing? And I was fortunate that I was really persistent. I was lucky to get a pitch meeting.
Yeah.
And
that's hard to do.
It's hard.
Even to get that. And this is, and I want to highlight that point, is like, you went to go look and what other people have done to see how they did it, to really get the rules of the world of what you're going to create. And that's what I do that in everything. And stealing like an artist, no matter what you're doing, if you can go out there and like, I want to do this, I want to create a theme park. Okay, cool. We'll go study Six Flags, see what they had, look at their story, and then you go and you can take that. And that's
do due diligence. Yeah, for sure.
And as little as, I want to do a logo. What do I want my brand to be? Don't just start drawing, or unless you're a great illustrator, go look at other brands and see what resonates with you. See what has worked in the past, and then go and then execute yours, so you can get it done sooner and get it done right, and then other people can see that and believe in you.
Yeah.
So was HBO coming on board that first year? So that was probably was that one of those moments where it was like, all right, this is real. We got something.
It was crazy. Yeah. I mean,
and then you started telling people, you said?
Yeah, because I went with this title. I'm the executive director of something that didn't exist. I'm the executive director of the New York Latino Film Festival. Okay, it doesn't exist yet, but they didn't even know I lived with my moms. Yeah. Some people were really shocked when they saw how young I was. I was, a scrawny kid. And
I love seeing the old pictures of you.
So when I went to those offices, there was a little surprise, because I would go in with like my backpack, whatever I looked like at the time. I just went in there. And it's like, well, it's too late. I've engaged with you all this time that I got this meeting. This is what I am. So let me go and pitch and whatever. Wow. And so I went, and I remember I had like 15, 20 minutes to do that. And
was it just sit down in an office, or who was all there?
It was a senior director over there.
Was one person, or was there a room of people?
There was 2 people that helped me out to get in. Like, you're gonna get a meeting with them and like whatever. And you do the elevator pitch. I literally had to like crunch it down and practice it and own it. And thanks be to God, I walked away with a contract that day.
Wow.
I went into the elevator, started crying, like trying to not cry, but as soon as I left the building, I wanted to leave the building so bad. Like, as much as I wanted to get in it, I wanted to leave that building fast.
Yeah, because you want to keep your cool.
I was just like overwhelmed, and I was just like, God. And so, I went in, and then we were like, okay, well, now we got an event to produce, and HBO had done a press conference for us, and we formally announced the festival that this was going to come in 2000. And that's when it hit me. I think when we had that press conference there at headquarters, I was like, okay, this is for real. This is really for real.
As long as Y2K doesn't fuck up
the
internet.
And then I moved out of my mom's house.
Yeah, you did. Oh, good.
Then that happened.
Wow. So, and then now, so, you know, and I'm not going to just skip right to the end of this story, but like, so over the last 23 years, like how have you like really focused on improving it to make it what it is now?
The audience and the filmmakers push you to do that.
Because you've had like a lot of huge premieres. Like, what were some of the first premieres that
our first year is like, I mean, again, this is God. Like people ask, you know, did it start off small? No.
Wow.
Like we had John Leguizamo, Rosie Perez, we had
I remember seeing
Kerry Washington. Yeah. We had so many people come through and so many talent that's out now that was just beginning in New York, right? That, you know, have elevated.
Yeah.
You know, we premiered Girl Fight that first year. You know, we had the New York premiere for that. So that was like a big deal. You know, because that was the big Sundance find and Michelle was like the big thing.
Yeah.
And Who's This Nobody Festival that got Sony to do this.
Right. And because it makes so much sense too. It's like, because a lot of these people that maybe had these budding careers but didn't have the representation that they wanted, and they finally see something like this and HBO gets behind it, it's like, oh wait, I want to be a part of this. This is me. This is how I really feel. Yeah. So that's, wow, it's just so early on.
So I think what happened, to answer your question, I think the audience and the filmmakers and trends, you got to be ahead of the trend, like cause you to like make it more dynamic. It's still very not new, but I still get excited about it. You know what I mean? Because there's always a challenge. There are always things that you want to learn, but you want the audience to learn from. And I think, you know, there's changes in technology. I remember when the Reds came out. I remember when DCPs started coming out. Like, you know, when we first started the festival, I only ran prints. I ran 75, 35, and 16.
Damn, that's crazy.
And so there's a picture somewhere lingering. I don't have it of me.
John, can you bring that up for it? No.
With me with a bunch of prints in Spanish Harlem.
Wow.
At the first year of the festival. So we would have this white truck. I know because it was this raggedy truck, and we would lug prints from venue to venue. And we really were a film festival. And I was like, we're not showing anything on video. I'm not doing that. This is a film festival. We're going to show film. And that's what we did. And we did all of it. Yeah. And so things like that, you know, just changes and filmmaker needs, you know, the system, like all these things you want to learn and you want to share that, you know, with the audience and, you know, with the filmmakers and really with the industry. I mean, unfortunately, yes, we're still having deep conversations of diversity and inclusion, but things have changed, you know, since I first started. But we have ways to grow, you know, particularly in the Latino space. You know, we're not at that point where if a film flops with us, there'll be another one. We have to wait. I think that's the problem that we have, is that we're not at that space where, you know, again, if we have a film that flops, you know, the next one's going to come out. You know, we're not there where African American, you know, filmmakers are at. You know, we hope that a film, you know, succeeds because you know we want to be able to make the next one. But we're not there yet. And I think also our movement started different. You know, the Latino cinematic movement started different than African Americans, but we're learning. You know, we learn from each other. And
it's really cool to see how you guys have helped, like, you know, launch careers, like being that place. I remember even the last time I think I was there was when like Sunday Church was there, and like
Saturday Church.
Saturday Church. All right, I remember when there was Saturday Church. But and then seeing the actresses from there all over now,
and it's multicultural, Black, Latino, Afro Latino, LGBTQ, and really that movie alone embodies what the festival is, because for me it was all about inclusivity and
across the board,
but really like everything about Latinos, not just like we're New York, we're only going to do Dominican and Puerto Rican. No, like the pan Latino of it all. Like that's what we want the festival to look like and market. But really like the Black of us, you know what I mean? The gay of us. Like we had the Afro Latino conversation from day one. You know what I mean? This is not new to us. And so for us, it was always reflective in the programming, always reflective in how we market it, and really in the audiences, and really being true New York style like that. And I don't think what we do would work quite the same in LA or somewhere else. So I don't know, but I think New York has this, we're the trendsetters, and the we're a heartbeat of the culture, I think. New York as it is, like,
I always say
a lot of fly stuff comes out of New York, so we want to be that too.
I always say, and I learned this from Paris. Not that he said this, but just working with Paris, and I always say you have to have somebody from New York on your team. Because if you can, right? You don't need, you don't have to.
I have LA people on my team. I'm in LA, so I love.
But it's just it's that just different vibe with somebody where, like, I might be like, nah, I'm not gonna knock on that door because I'm afraid of what. And then here comes Paris kicking the door down. Not literally, but like actually, like, people from New York, they'll just make things happen. And there's just a way about people from New York that is just in business and in life. It's just like that energy to get things done.
But now it's like, again, like and also, for us, we're at this point where we want to hit content creators wherever they live.
Yeah. And
absolutely. So you want to expand the festival. Now we have a digital conference with just, people in the digital space of color, whether you're working for Google or Spotify, whatever, to influencers in the space and content creators in the space. And so, again, as media changes and that consumption changes, we want to be ahead of that. So the digital conference was a big piece of that, which we started like 4 years ago, the Futuro Digital Conference.
How do you deal with the frustrations of, like, you have this, that you've been inclusive from the beginning, diversity has been a huge part of it from the beginning, and then now 23 years later, we're still like having these conversations and we've made a lot of progress, but like, how do you handle the frustrations of that? Because even now, as I'm just thinking about this, you never seem. You're always like pushing everything forward. So maybe it's the fact of like how much work you're doing to push the needle forward. But I've never seen you, and maybe I just haven't experienced it, but like super upset about it. But it's like almost like you're focused because you're pushing it forward versus like complaining about it or something like that.
I mean, it's hella frustrating.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, how do you handle that, or how do you, like, where's your focus at? Because I think that we can learn a lot from that. To continue pushing this forward, to get it where it needs to go. But I mean, obviously you guys have been a huge part of it over the last 23 years, but I'm like we still got to keep pushing this. So how do you deal with that?
You talk to other people. You know what I mean? You talk to others, because I know I'm not alone in it. And it's like, what are best practice? What do we do to, keep the pressure off some of these companies, you know what I mean, to really look at us and invest in us, and cultural investments are really important. And even yesterday, I was speaking with someone, I was like preaching that. And so you have to receive it and give it, and talk it to others, about, the importance of D&I and cultural investments, and, really diversifying the workplace. And it's hard. It's a lot. Like, for me, it's a marathon, man.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. You got to be patient. You got to be strategic. You got to listen. And move authentically. Don't come off too strong. You're not going to change alone. It takes a village, and it's just being patient, but it's a lot. Sometimes sometimes it gets frustrating, and sometimes it's hard because you want to do more. And it's like, I've learned early, and even more so it reminds you, like, I'm never going to stop proving myself. Like, I need to keep proving myself, because whoever is in that position of power is going to leave. And then the next person's coming, and I got to prove myself to them, whether it's to give me money or to partner with the festival, whatever it is. I'm never going to stop proving myself. I can never stop validating the importance of the work that we do. And I have to just keep building the congregation. Like, you have to keep building and growing. You can't be stagnant.
Yeah, I know you just did ABFF, and you're like at these other festivals and stuff too, and continue to network and build out.
I mean, I want to be where culture thrives.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care where it's at. Like, I just want to see it, and I get inspired by that. I get inspired by the audiences. It's important that we were present. And so, yeah, I want to be wherever culture is at, wherever I see dope stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that inspires me in like how we market, but also what we want to do as an organization, and maybe pockets we can fill. Like if there's a hole here, whether it's writers or
because you continue to expand with New York Latino Film Festival, so NYLFF for short, and now. So you have a digital agency now,
yeah, we have
and then now with the you just mentioned the conference.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me a little bit more about what you guys are doing with all of that, because I mean the brand is so brilliant, and it starting it in one place, but now expanding it. It's interesting because when you first told me that you were expanding to a digital agency, it was like, oh, from a film festival, it was like, oh, that's creative. That's unique. And then, but it just makes so much sense because now you can service that, all the people you're working with, the filmmakers you're working with, and give them more opportunities. And now with these conferences and continuing to grow the message.
I think you got it already.
I got you. But yeah, so how did this stuff start coming about?
It's kind of like that, I was consulting for an agency out of LA. And, I was always into marketing. Paris can tell you even when we were younger, I was always into marketing and I've always read the trades. And I was that kid when I was even in high school. I always read stuff from the New York Times to Variety. I was that kid who always wanted to feel like I can walk into a room and know what the day is. I could tell you I could, even today, like I'm always that person. I would read everything on the train and I could tell you what happened in Ukraine and I could tell you what happened at Warner Brothers in the same breath. You know what I mean? And that's always been something for me. But anyway, I the agency again was just an extension of providing that equity for content creators. So for me, if it was like, well, if we know the best content creators in the world, like if we get all this content globally and we know all these creatives and we deal with studios and companies that trust us and we have a following, we have a social following, then how we merge these worlds.
The biggest following.
What are the largest followings for Latino org? So, how do you take that power and kind of build equity for the content creators and create a new opportunity where we're going to brands and saying, well, instead of going to big agency all the time, well, how about you come to this and like, you're going to get creative from a different level.
Yeah.
And so that's where and you're going to provide that equity. So we're talking diversity and inclusion, then I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you because we hire different photographers, directors, writers. We constantly change up the crews. And we provide that filmmaker who's never done the 60-second commercial to do that. Like you could be dope in telling a film in 1 hour and a half or 2 hours, but now I'm going to challenge you to tell something in, 60 seconds, really 55 if you take away the tags and all that. And like that's hard and to write and whatever. And so but
super important to learn that and help expand their knowledge on that as well.
So how do you create equity to so if a brand, instead of going to big agency, how do you create equity and go to smaller, minority owned houses that are in turn, supporting the culture, whether it's financially or just creatively, both, right?
Especially as these other companies and brands have these new diversity initiatives, as they're helping push the needle forward. So who better to go to than the GOAT?
And so we collaborate with agencies, and then there's some work that we do on our own.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of commercial work. We really function in the areas of experiential activations, commercial work, traditional commercial graphic work. So whether it's commercial, like 60-second spots, billboards, radio, and some social. Yeah, we do all of that.
And award winning now too, right?
Yeah. So we won 3 tellies recently.
Wow. Congrats.
For HBO. And then we worked, it was an honor to work on the vaccine commercials, the vaccine campaign for the city of New York, which I never thought we would do.
Right.
But again, it was really inspiring to not only listen to the stories of New Yorkers, but how do we translate that into narratives that our filmmakers are telling? And so we were nominated for an Emmy Award last year for the work. We did over 5 commercials for the vaccine, and then we just won a telly this year for the booster side of it. And so, I'm just, thankful, and we just put ourselves out there and just keep pushing. And again, that evolution is exciting to me. So I never get bored. And the festival's always new. We always get new blood. We bring in new producers. We bring in new people to shoot our work.
Yeah. What part of it is like, are you like seeking to discover a lot? Like do you want,
I'm always on social. I look at people's stuff. You never know who's watching you.
Yeah.
Including me. Like I've had experiences where like, Calixto, I saw you, whatever. I saw you on social. I want to build with you. So I'm that person. Like I'll, I don't do that gatekeeperness because I've been through it. I've done it. So for me, it's like I'm always looking at social to see that hot photographer or, video guy or the edit or, who's coming up with fire stuff.
Yeah.
And if I see it, I want to work with you and I'll find a way. And so it's not just New York cats. I found people in LA, Atlanta, Miami, and I'll just like,
yeah, well, you can identify that greatness, or you see that they have something of caliber, and we find most of our people through whatever digital platform, what Clubhouse, as we were talking about yesterday, was a big thing. But yeah, Instagram, if I see something, I'm like, all right, who's this? Let me follow that person. All right, next time we have a job that's perfect for that person, let's hire them out. And it's just a. And
I've built so many strong relationships off of social. Social is what you make of it. You could really, if you play smart, if you're putting out authentic content. If you really want to engage people, you could really build, try, but really just build some good, alliances and create opportunities with people off of social. I've seen it. I do it on the daily. I practice this stuff on the daily.
Yeah.
I'm always seeing like fire stuff, and that keeps me current and relevant because those people that we bring in interpret the festival from a different lens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been doing it for 23 years, but those people are seeing the brand and the audience and the creative, and they're like, no, I see it this way.
Yeah.
And so that as a leader or as a founder, you want to give into that.
Sure.
You don't want to be
helps you
stuck
innovate.
on your vision.
Yeah. Innovate
Some
or
people
die,
get
man.
stuck on their visions. And so you got to be open in the collaborative aspect. If film is collaborative,
so you're not only doing film now, you're doing
whatever. Yeah. Ask me next week. I'm going to start podcasts or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
Which we talked about. But you wanna move with it, and they're gonna take it and 2.0 it.
Sure.
And so for me, that's where I get excited, and like, that keeps the brand relevant. That keeps the audiences diversifying. Because there's a generation that started with the festival, and now there's a new generation that is taking that and whatever. So for me, my job is to encourage that.
Absolutely.
Keep encouraging that.
Yeah, especially from a creative standpoint. Like, it's a film festival, it's creativity.
Yeah, but some people say the same, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
But I can't be that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, some of the foundation, part of that could stay. But yeah.
But that's where integrity, honesty, all the things I mentioned earlier, those are the pillars that keep you still, that keep you strong. Relying on a faith, knowing that there's something, of course, higher than me that moves this, that God moves this. You know what I mean? And just walking on faith, moving in that, and moving in integrity. That means everything to me.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the pillars that keep us there.
And how do you keep going? Like, for 23 years, like, how do you, especially as it's like it's somewhat of an uphill battle as this, and as you continue to expand and everything too. How do you just continue going? Like, is it, do you have you always been super hardworking, passionate, head down, get the work done? Or is this something like, as you've formulated a team around you and you continue pushing forward, you get excited every year because it keeps on getting bigger, or, dips, and of course, COVID and stuff too, is like, the different challenges. How do you keep going after 23 years? Is it even a thought to you?
Yes and no, you just do. I think for me, I think the first couple of years of the festival, we were so like the underdogs that when you go through stuff like that, you feel like you don't get bitter about it. You just keep going. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to take these learnings. I think before imposter syndrome, and I don't like the word imposter syndrome, but before that came out, that word into the lexicon, like for me, yes, I felt like, do I belong here? Like, I came from the PJs. Now I'm doing film. Now I'm doing this festival. Like, it's a big secret. Like, and then when I told Paris, like, I said, Paris, this is really gonna happen. And my mother never found out till she saw it on TV.
Wow.
And by then it was like too late. Like, she was like, what's going on? So I think when you go through that struggle, you come up with you leave from struggle with armor. And you can either leave with armor or bitterness, right? And so for me, I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of what the F's you're doing. I got a lot of people who are just gatekeeping on me. I got, even from my own culture, a lot of criticism, or like just doubt, and people wanting the festival, whatever, to be what they wanted it to be. I've been through all of that. And I think that for me, you just get, again, you can make your choice. But I chose to just get stronger at it and just know that this is my vision, and y'all could, everyone else, you can, participate in it or not. I encourage everyone to do your own thing too.
Sure.
So it's like, instead of coming at me or whatever at the time, then go do your own thing. I did. So go do it.
Yeah.
And so but it took me a minute to think in that way and to speak up in that way. And I was young, and I was really sensitive. And there was times I would just break down and cry. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? You don't get rich off of this.
Yeah.
Like, and then I would just doubt myself. And there was a moment where, well, God put me here for this. Like, I prayed on it. I really thought about it. Like, I prayed for this festival. And now it happens. So now what do you do with it? And I just go. I just remember nights, where I really was dreaming about this thing. And it was not in my life plan. I was going to school. I was doing other things. I was trying to be a filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I never went to school for this. I never went to school to how to run a business. And then before you know it, at 20 and some change, you're like, okay, I got to run a business. Like, what am I doing? I got to incorporate this thing. I got companies I got to answer to. Yeah. I got to speak publicly. I got to become this character that I've been hawking everyone up. I'm this executive director. Well, now you got to freaking go and executive direct. Now you got to run this thing.
Yeah, because I've only known you as this version.
Yeah.
So like, and it just makes complete sense. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what Calixto does, and like he's been thriving in this. But even hearing the story of like, some of the times where it gets really tough, and that's what I love about those tough moments. And once you have a certain amount of those tough moments and you get through them, they don't seem as big when something like that happens later on. It's like, oh, that's, it was like a huge hole to jump over before, but now it's like a little divot.
But to this day, I'm thankful for every room that I walk in.
Yeah.
To this day, because nothing is promised. You still have doors you want to walk through, whether it's Netflix or another brand or whatever.
Yeah. And things are changing in the business and stuff too.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not far from that other person that can't get in. Like, I'm not far from it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, I thank God for every room I'm able to walk in through. And like, if I can talk 5 minutes with you and tell you what we're doing, then I'm thankful for that, because none of that is promised. Success isn't promised, and none of that is promised, right? And so for me, moving in that keeps you humble in check.
Yeah. I love it, man. And now, so as we bring it all the way to 2023, what are you most excited? Like, what's going on right now? I know we're gearing up because this will come out in the next couple of weeks. So we're gearing up for the festival this September.
Yeah.
What are the dates?
September 15th through the 24th.
Wow.
So in pandemic, we moved it, in Hispanic Heritage Month. It was always a summer event. It was always in August, obviously COVID. But even then, like COVID, I was just like, you're not going to stop us. Like, and I had to figure out a way.
Yeah, didn't you guys do like a drive-in or something like that?
Yeah, Yankee Stadium, the Yankee Stadium lots. And we're like, let's go. Let's do this. And we're going to do it safe. And I was fortunate to be on the committee of reopening New York. So, our mayor had come up with different committees, whether it's an arts sector and the financial sector, to reopen the city. And not only from an economic sector, but really like, how do we protect jobs and bring revenue in? And so I was lucky to be in the room where I can get intelligence and figure out where the city was going, and then apply that into doing a drive-in. And this is when the world was closed.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember.
there was so many organizations, even Sundance, like everybody was closed. And the gift of time, like, you got to see how other people were doing,
I was, because Sundance, were you at Sundance when we all, I mean, that was the year that like Kobe died as well. That's
Yeah.
everybody
It was
left
too
Sundance
rough.
and got super sick, and which usually kind of run down anyways. But I was like,
It was bad.
it was like one of the first hot spots. So you got to, like, I guess so.
So you got to see what was going on.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you got to see the
Apply it.
streaming, because there was a lot of streaming companies that didn't quite get it right.
Yeah.
So the essence of time like kind of helped us out, because we were like, okay, we're going to not use this company. We're not going to use this company. And then I found the right company. So I wanted the whole event to be a live experience. So we, did a lot of pre-tape, but we broadcasted live. And then we have a live drive-in. We did that whole drive-in experience. And we were able to get, films like Charm City Kings. We had, their premiere after Sundance. They premiered in New York, with us. And we were able to make moments like that happen. So for me, it was like, no, you can't cancel culture. And we need to figure out a way to make this happen. And so we did like IG Lives with talent. We did whatever we could, but you're not going to cancel the culture. We worked too freaking hard. And so let's be dynamic. We're creatives. Let's freaking create. And that, for me, that was a moment I probably won't forget. It was like probably our busiest season, our busiest moment.
Oh, really?
Because we had like all eyes on us. But then we had studios and companies looking at us and like, yo, they're not stopping.
Yeah. And they did it, and then probably inspired other people to do, maybe, whatever
they did it,
doing.
but I think, or they tried it, whatever. People went out, but people really looked at us, like, okay, they're not doing the virtual thing, or not, they're really trying to break out. And so for me, it was like, that was a call to step up. That was to rise up. And so I won't forget that moment.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the term, you don't bet on the horse, you bet on the jockey?
Yes.
It's like in entrepreneurship, I think that really like no matter what you do, people bet on you because they know that you're going to make it happen. So whether it's the festival or it's these conferences now or the digital agency, is like, okay, Calixto was involved. Okay, let's, even during the pandemic, he went through, made it happen, has a great team. Let's continue, and then you continue to thrive. Yeah. That's really cool, man. So, as we wrap this thing up, tell everybody what they can expect now in September. What's going on in your world right now, and how you guys moving forward the next few months?
I mean, we got some announcements I really wish I could say.
Come on, man, give me an exclusive.
But
I'll clip it out and then put it as a Patreon.
We got some good stuff. We're cooking it different. We want to, really enhance our digital conference.
How often is the digital conference?
It's once a year. I mean, we want to spin it off. COVID kind of messed us up in that front, but we're going to do a weekend of it this year. And again, you talk about providing that opportunity. We work with different producers, and so we found this producer that has a podcast called Off the Cuff. So shout out. And we were like, let's do something with you. And like, okay, well, you know how to get audiences, you know how to produce, like, let's do it. And so we're working on that. And then the festival itself, we expanded for like 3 more days. But you'll see why in a bit. And then we shoot our commercial. Next week, 4th of July weekend.
Oh, amazing.
And we got a good filmmaker, Anthony Rojas, that's working with us. First time doing a commercial. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And just getting the festival ready. And again, we're trying to push, we want to build out more programs, some talent incubator programs. We have a comedy program that we've done for 3 years with HBO, where we look throughout the country for the top stand-up comics and we give them an HBO special.
That's so dope.
And so we're looking to do a 2.0 of that competition, Latino stand-up comedy competition. And, Ralph Barbosa he's a big comic right now.
Right. Yeah.
And he won.
Wow. Really?
He won.
Yes.
So, so again, we spread ourselves out. We do film, we'll do comedy, we do digital, we do, marketing, and you kind of just build the ecosystem, if you will.
Wow. Dude, it's been
bring
so
people up with
man.
you.
Hell yeah. Hey, you gave us one of our first shots too, man. And I'll never forget, like, even with Elevated Remedies at New York Latino Film Festival. And then we went back to Detroit, won this contest that got us sent to Sundance. And we get to Sundance the first day, we're at Sundance. We're like, well, I remember meeting up with you and Maylin, and we're walking across the street, and then you guys got us into Macro Lodge. And then just, if we wouldn't have seen you, or if Varys wouldn't have known you, we would have been like, now I've been there every single year, except for the COVID years. I've been there every single year, and it's been like the biggest networking event for me within my career for both film and TV, but also for like our digital agency. But
that's what I told Paris though.
Yeah.
But I remember I told Paris the year before, you got to come here.
Yeah. And you've been telling me to go.
I never been to
yeah.
Sundance either. We would send programmers there, but I never really stepped foot. And after I stepped foot,
so we did some. So you went in 2016, the year before we saw you out there?
Yeah, we had done an event. We did 2 years producing an event.
Oh, okay.
Out there, and then I was like, Paris, you need to come here. You really need to come here.
It's the best networking.
And there's so much to do that I don't even watch many films. I'll get the screeners, but I don't watch much. But it forces you to do elevator pitch like at freaking hardcore. But you're in the room because it's so freaking cold outside that everybody's huddling up and you see the same people.
It's like everybody's trauma bonding.
And Blacks and Latinos stick together.
Yeah.
Like we're all the parties together, you know, and we're everywhere together. Like literally, because I feel like sometimes it's, you know, it could feel like it's us against, not us against them, but it's like, it feels like we're the minority majority sometimes in like, you know, and it's in Utah and it's Sundance. That in those culture spaces we stick together.
Sure, yeah.
And you feel it, and that energy just is infectious. And I was telling Paris, like, yo, Blacks and Latinos stick together at Sundance. You don't know. There's a Black house, there's a whatever, we did a Latin thing, and that's the energy and the inspiration and the networking. I've met so many friends, and then when you guys went, I was like, see, I told you.
Yeah, it was so dope.
I told you.
And luckily we won that contest and then knew you, because otherwise you really helped us maximize our experience. And then now I tell everybody, you got to come to this, you got to do this.
And other people hook you up. They're like, yo, I'm not doing lines.
Exactly.
I'll teach you how to cut the lines or
Open
whatever.
The back door.
Like, back door, like I got you. And that's like, you know, the hookup. You want you know, and people really good at like, Mark, meet me on the corner.
Yeah.
And that's how it is.
And then you become that person to other people.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, tell everybody where they can find you, man. Thank you so much, by the way, for doing this.
No, I appreciate this conversation, because again, you know, for the people out there that listen, like we know each other, but you really don't know, right? And so you know, I'm fortunate that, you know, your family's married to my best friend's family. Like I've known Paris since I was 6 years old. Right.
Wow.
So, but again, to see your friends thrive, like to see what Paris is doing, really impresses me. And you want to talk about a marathon? That brother ran the marathon through health, sickness. Now he's doing his thing. Yeah. And we dreamt about this as kids.
So cool to see.
It's crazy. And so I remind myself like that.
You gotta
keeps
stop
you in
and
check.
talk about it. Yeah.
That stuff keeps you in check. You know what I mean? Growing up in the welfare system, that shit keeps you in check. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
And all of those experiences of dreaming to get out of it or to do something. And, you know, I'm just thankful to be in this podcast, to talk to you and, you know, to see you thrive. You know,
thanks,
we've
man.
been there, you know, you go the highs, the dips and the lows.
Yeah.
And to see you, you know, get out and like, I can talk about it and I'll still go to the mountains, whatever, but that's what it is. You have to keep hiking, you know,
that's the fun part.
Reach Everest.
That's the part you look back on when you're like, damn, I wish I was, you know, when this is all over.
And you teach that to young people. So for me, as I get older, I have to also check myself not to knock someone down. Like, meaning, like, I want to encourage you. I don't want you to go through the same struggle I did. I need you to go through your own struggle, though.
Yeah.
But I find like I need to not be that person that, you know, craps on your dreams like maybe some people did to me.
Facts.
I just don't want to see you fail. And so I'm kind of like that. I constantly, as I get, like, have to check myself not to be that and to like, okay, you can do it. Not everybody has the best idea, but I can't knock.
But at least try it so you can learn from the process.
And so I'm learning that. And so, but I'm really thankful. And I thank you for this. This is really cool.
My pleasure, man. Well, tell everybody where they can find you.
On IG and all our socials is at NY Latino Film Festival. That's it. So it's at NY Latino Film Festival, and even the website, NYLatinofilmfestival.com. Twitter, same thing. IG, same thing. My personal IG is Calixto, Calixto.
Dopest name in the game, by the way, Calixto Chinchilla.
Yeah, that's crazy. My brother's name is Robert. Go figure. But they got creative with me.
Hey, I love it.
And so, yeah, like we have an active community. We don't just hawk our wares. We talk about what culture's doing and what people are doing. And we share a lot of stuff. So, you know, again, it's like we always thought about how do we take that community that's at the festival and put that in our socials. And so that's what we do. So
yeah, it's working, man.
Trying working every day.
All right. Till next time, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right. Peace, y'all.